Why in the world do I even have this thing? I think this is from a turbocharger. What's going on, everybody? It's Charles. Today, we are talking about why mechanics or technicians seem to always save a ton of parts. And the main reason that I'm talking about this today is I just spent like 5 hours in the crawl space organizing all of the parts that I've accumulated over the many, many years of one, being an enthusiast, and two, being an automotive technician. When I left the dealership, I brought all that stuff with me and basically just shoved it in the crawl space until a day where I had a little more time and energy to deal with it. Well, today is that day. We're actually having some construction done around the house, and I needed to get that stuff out of the way so the dudes could work on the house. Okay, we are here. Let's see what we got just initially. I came and put some lights down, but it's still pretty dark. Check this out. This is a 1.8 not turbo block from the Cabrio. This is a 1.4 liter out of a hybrid Jetta from Lord knows when. Cool VR6 tag. Box full of electronic parts. Wheels and tires. Old head gasket. Charles, what do you even need to keep that for? Cylinder head. Box of who knows what. A steering wheel. TSG. Axles. Mark III wiring harness. Oh my God. Oh, I forgot how much stuff I had down here. Some tires, an airbox. Oh, just a bunch of stuff. So I actually need to get all of these things, all this stuff moved over here. So why is it that I even have all of this stuff anyway? Well, there's a handful of reasons why I just can't bring myself to throw a lot of this stuff away. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say it right there. I'm like this far away from just being a ridiculous car parts hoarder, because as you see, some of this stuff I got no use for at all. However, in the dealership and as a professional technician, whether indie or dealership, having some of these parts really comes in handy. Whether it's like a random bolt that you need, right length, right thread pitch, right diameter, or maybe a test module. I know while I was digging through that stuff, I found a couple of things that were test modules. Maybe they had a very slight failure or an intermittent failure, and we replaced it and kept the old one, because if another car had a similar issue, you could just swap it really quick and see what would happen. Now, that's not the end-all be-all of diagnosis, of course, but if you could take a relay out, slap a new relay in because you have one in the bottom drawer of your toolbox, I think that's generally a worthwhile thing to do. There's over there somewhere is a relay, a 409 relay, fuel pump module relay for a Mark IV that randomly will sound the door open chime in the cluster if you have it in. So I kept that one. But for me, the main reason initially it started out as, hey, this could be a test component. This is a test door latch. This is a test airflow meter. This is a test relay. Whatever it is, we had these extra parts so that we could just do a quick test and see what would happen. Did it completely change the behavior of whatever the failure was? Did it do nothing? Did it change the way it fails? See, one of the good things about a failed part that you use as a test box, as long as it's not totally dead, is you know exactly what's wrong. So let's say you have a door that won't unlock, and you have a module, maybe a window module, that the motor just died, right? So everything else worked, it just didn't have enough strength. Maybe the brushes were bad, or maybe they were just dirty and you put a new one in because it was under warranty, and Volkswagen didn't pay you to clean the brushes, but you did get paid to put the motor in, so you put the motor in. Well, now we know if the door is doing something weird, we can just plug it in and see what happens. Again, not the end-all be-all of diagnosis. Some may argue that's not even diagnosis anyway. That is called what my good friend Mike calls triagnosis, which I think is hilarious. But it is an option, and sometimes it's a really good option. Other times it's a terrible option, but sometimes it's a really good option. So I started keeping all this stuff for test components. Then things kind of got weird, and I started keeping all of like the random bolts. A great example is brake caliper bolts for the backs on Mark IVs, Mark Vs. I would keep the old ones because I would use them for belly pan screws, because the Beetle convertibles, Mark IV Beetle convertibles, if you've ever taken one of those belly pans off, it's probably the worst belly pan ever on the planet in the history, worse than the EOS, I might add, because the screws were triple squares, and of course, people would just run stuff over and it would shear the head, not completely off, because that would actually be pretty easy,
but it would just flatten it out so you couldn't get your triple square in there, and you ended up having to use a chisel and hammer or an extractor or something like that. So we'd replace those with the 13 millimeters, because even if you scraped a little bit off of that, it was still pretty easy. And you never know. You never know when you're gonna need that random screw, that random bolt. Can't tell you how many times I'd be doing a job and you just need one extra bolt or one extra piece of hardware or something, and you dig through your bottom drawer of your toolbox, can't find it. You go to Twitch next door and be like, hey Twitch, you got this part? And sure enough, boom, he's got one right there for you. So that sort of started it all off. Now, as an enthusiast, I think it gets even worse, or maybe like one is okay and the other is okay, but when you combine them together, it's a really bad formula. Because now I have things, well, I might do something with this one day. Maybe I'll need this component one day, and it could be weird stuff. A perfect example is when we did the VR6 swap on the Mark I, I used for the radiator to hold it in place, I used modified Mark I sway bar mounts to mount that radiator. Was it the right thing? No, but it worked perfectly. Just shaved it off a little bit and it fit perfectly and did exactly what I needed to do. So you never really know when you might need one of these parts. Wiring harnesses is something I never threw away. You never knew when you'd maybe need a pin out of a connector or the connector itself because one was smashed or the little clip, the lock was broken or something like that. So I started saving all this, and now I've accumulated just an insane amount of stuff. Things like wheels that are bent that one day I'll make a cool end table out of, or the rear glass for a cabriolet. Why I didn't give that to the guy when he bought the cabriolet, I have no idea. So while I think it's important to save some parts to have for testing or backup, or maybe your own car breaks, that's another reason why I started driving Volkswagens to begin with. I got a crazy good deal on a VW Cabrio, and I knew that if something broke, I probably either had it or someone nearby had it, and I could just give them like $5 or whatever, and I would have a part that would work fine to fix my car. In fact, I put an ignition coil that I had in my toolbox in that wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. Fired the car up and drove it home. That's actually the cheapest car I've ever bought for $15, as a matter of fact. Now, you do have to be careful because it can get ridiculous, which is kind of where I think I am, because I got car parts up there, over there, down in the crawl space, out in the shed, and of course, in the cabinet, in the toolbox, pretty much everywhere. However, you never know. One day, I'm gonna need all that stuff.
Okay, after spending some time getting everything cleaned up, still going to have the 1.4 liter engine chilling here. This one actually had a cylinder 1 knock or something like that. Got replaced under warranty. Went ahead and straightened up a bunch of stuff. We'll walk all the way back here. But look at some of this stuff that I have. Every spark plug I probably ever replaced at the dealership. Just kidding. In that box. An alternator. A relay block for a Mark IV. The VR6 head gasket out of the white Wookiee. Don't know why I kept that. A steering wheel, the Mark IV springs, catalytic converter from the white car, oil pans, DSG box. I think that's the transmission out of the Cabriolet. Mark I fan setup. I think that's a Mark I fan setup. Whole box of DSG parts. This is a complete Mark III wiring harness for the body. Some beer brewing equipment. This is the clutch that I exploded. Well, not really exploded, just burnt up on the white car after Black Forest told me it would not be enough clamping force to hold. I said it was okay. They were right. I was wrong. Brand new set of Mark VII GTI springs. Some busted Golf R wheels. The white Wookiee wheels. Some roof racks. A carbon fiber lip from somewhere. And then this is just all random car parts in these boxes, including a box of just random bolts. By the way, big ups if you know what this thing is. I'll give you a hint. It was on very early Passats and Audi A4s, and it was actually cheaper to buy it from Audi. I pulled out a handful of things that I either need or thought it was pretty cool that I had. Full brand new ground strap for a Mark IV. So if that's exactly what this is, which I'm pretty sure it is, we're going to be using that. A windshield washer fluid cap. Big ups if you know what this is and what it's from. I wonder if these are worth any money. I haven't seen one of these in a really long time. I actually found one of the regular ones too, but this is special. Let me know if you know what this is. The R32 pedal that I found. Why I have this, I'm not quite sure, but I have it, so that's cool. A little teaser of the next project car that's coming up. My Master Tech patches that I never put on any shirts. Now, what we have to do is just clean up the last couple little things. I'm gonna go in, take a shower, because I feel like I'm covered in 8 million spiders, and then we'll wrap this video up. All right, so I got the crawl space cleaned up so the guys can do their work. If you need something, boy, let me know. I got a ton of stuff. I may have it down there. Maybe we'll do a HumbleMechanic swap meet one day, and I'll lay everything out on 800 tables and let you guys dig through it. So what do you think? Is it worth saving those extra parts, or should I just rent a dumpster, throw it all in the trash, and, well, let's be honest, I'll just start over, and this time it'll probably be a bunch of Miata stuff instead of just a ton of random Mark 1, Mark 3, Mark 4, Mark 5, Mark 6, Mark 7 parts that I got. With that, I'm out. Guys, have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you again next time.